Hey everybody, Maction here, and just as a brief little look at how I use the Dremel, basically when you're putting two pieces of foam together, to get a good solid stick, you need it to be raw foam. It can't be the sealed portion that is already been, that's already been treated with that pattern, because stuff just doesn't stick to that as well. So occasionally you've got to pull out the Dremel and sand that bit off. Now you could do it by hand, but the Dremel's a lot faster. A belt sander would probably be most ideal, but hey, I don't have that. Additionally, what I don't have is the setup to stream when I'm doing the dremeling, hence this little brief bit on how I do the dremeling. This stuff gets everywhere, so I have to do it outside. I recommend you do the same. A good ventilated area so you're not breathing in the dust, and of course, safety glasses. An absolute must. You'll get this stuff kicking up all over the place. A flex tool attachment is also vital if you want to do this. There are two versions. There's an old version. It's the Dremel 225 T2, and then there's the T1. The T1 is the one that's currently sold in stores. I have both. The T2 is massively better, but it is currently discontinued because, of course, it is. But it's the flex tool of choice. You want to have the Dremel higher in the air than the area that you're working on. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. As far as technique, you will let it sort of pull your hand forward, and if you want to bite into it a little bit, you'll pull it backward. You'll see me doing a lot of just back and forth kind of willy-nilly, because in big areas it's not really important that I get a uniform depth, just important that I get off the surface layer. So even if it winds up being bumpy, who cares? It's not going to be a big deal. I suppose the last thing to note about working with a Dremel is that as you're approaching an edge, you want to change your positioning so that you're moving parallel, that you're moving with the edge. If you are going perpendicular or even at an angle that's closer to the 90 degrees than the 0 degrees, you're going to wind up having the Dremel tool go around, bite the front edge, which is the edge that's going to be seen in most cases, and it's going to just ruin all that lovely work that you did. Perhaps the best thing to note is that when you're trying to get off the finished edge that they put on stock, the patterned bit, that you use a low grit sandpaper, and I use it at a medium speed because low speed takes much longer than I'm willing to spend, and high speed gets a little bit too unwieldy with a low grit. But when you start doing work of shaping, you'll want to transition over to a higher grit, the highest grit that you can find, ideally, and at a medium to high speed with that, and just light little shaves. So basically, that's it. That's how I do the dremeling, and yeah, so whenever I say I'll come back to it after I've done the dremeling, that's what I mean. I'm just getting my hands dirty, doing a bit of dremeling.